Good morning, everyone. I'm Connor McCrory with Texas Storm Chasers, TexasStormChasers.com. It is 6:29 a.m. here on Wednesday, August 3rd, 2011. We're here to do a little weather briefing on Tropical Storm Emily, currently in the Eastern Caribbean. Emily right now is a fairly weak tropical storm. According to the National Hurricane Center, its maximum sustained winds are 50 miles per hour, with a minimum central pressure of 1,003 millibars. Nothing too strong, but a tropical storm is a tropical storm, and it certainly needs to be addressed, especially with the possibility of strengthening, which we will get to later. Now, what you see here is the first visible satellite shot of the morning of Tropical Storm Emily. Now, right here is an infrared satellite shot of Tropical Storm Emily sitting there just a little ways south of the Dominican Republic. This is something we have been able to see all night. Infrared satellite does not depend on the day to work like visible satellite does. This shows essentially what the visible satellite shows, in that there is a nice thick central dense overcast sitting over the center of Emily, maybe a little bit to the northeast of the center, which is that really thick area of really cold cloud tops. Those more intense colors there are the colder cloud tops, indicating more intense thunderstorms and more intense convection. This is something we like to see when we're looking for intensifying tropical cyclones. However, Emily really is not intensifying too much due to a few other negative factors. However, this should change, which we will get to later on. The official forecast track from the National Hurricane Center on Tropical Storm Emily brings the storm across the island of Hispaniola, affecting both the Dominican Republic and Haiti, sweeping it through the Bahamas before eventually curving just east of the southeast United States coastline and recurving back out to sea. This is certainly a possibility, which is why the National Hurricane Center has it as their official forecast. However, as you can see, a lot of the United States coastline is in that cone of uncertainty, and the Hurricane Center has addressed in their forecast discussions that there's a lot of uncertainty left with this storm. In fact, there's a lot more than usual. There are many factors that could affect what this storm does, both with the weather around it and some of the geography. For example, many of the peaks on the island of Hispaniola are quite tall, and there are some effects that those could create which would actually cause Tropical Storm Emily to curve north a little bit sooner than it is expected. However, Emily is currently moving further west than was expected, and there's a lot more to be seen as far as the track is concerned. What you can see here is the 6 Zulu or 1 a.m. Central Time model tracks for Tropical Storm Emily. Clearly, there are two different solutions that the models seem to be indicating. The favored one is the more likely solution, which would involve Tropical Storm Emily eventually crossing Hispaniola, moving up the coast, and never quite making landfall. If it does, just brushing the southeastern United States coast, maybe East Florida. However, there is the distinct possibility that Emily will stay a bit farther west than anticipated and could even make it into the Gulf. If Emily does manage to make it into the Gulf, chances are it wouldn't be in there for very long and would likely landfall on the western Florida coast or possibly the Florida Panhandle. Is it possible that Emily will stay even further than that to the west? Yes. Is it likely? No, not at all. But we will be monitoring this situation, and we will be keeping everyone posted, as will the National Hurricane Center, of course. If you live in the southeastern United States, this would certainly be a good time to be checking up on Emily, keeping your eye on the television, keeping the radio on, see if any evacuations are ordered for reasons that we'll go into now. While Emily is not strengthening very much now, despite a little bit of some pretty good organization there, once Emily does cross Hispaniola and weaken over that land, it will be entering much more favorable conditions. It'll be under a nice upper level anticyclone, which is good. It reduces wind shear, which is not good for tropical cyclones. It will be crossing over very, very warm waters, and it shouldn't have too many problems with dry air either. So once Emily makes it back north of those islands in the Caribbean and over the Atlantic or over the Gulf, it should be in conditions to strengthen quite a bit. As you can see here, most of the models do continue strengthening Emily for a little while. Several of them bring Emily up to hurricane status in a few days, and a couple of them even show Emily becoming a major hurricane there at Category 3. Will this happen? It's a little too early to know, but it's a distinct possibility, and it's something that anyone who lives in Mississippi, Alabama, especially the Florida Panhandle, Western Florida, and even more so the Eastern Florida coast, should definitely be paying attention to. In addition, if you're in the Bahamas, maybe taking a summer vacation there, you should be paying attention to Tropical Storm Emily, as it will almost certainly affect you. And hopefully, for anyone who happens to be in Haiti or the Dominican Republic, you've already figured out something to do to take shelter from Tropical Storm Emily, because even if it is not a very intense cyclone, when it makes landfall over Haiti or any part of Hispaniola, it will definitely have torrential rains associated with it, which can be devastating in those mountainous areas. Thanks for tuning into this little weather briefing. If you're in the central United States, stay cool today and the next couple of days. It is hot out there. We certainly feel that in Texas. If you're on the East Coast or in the Southeast, be paying attention to Tropical Storm, possibly soon to be Hurricane Emily. And anywhere else, keep your eyes on the weather. That's what we do. We will be back later today with another video that will most likely be a little bit more in-depth, have a few more details meteorologically regarding why Emily is doing and will do exactly what it is that she's out there doing. Thanks again for watching.